sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Good afternoon, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is a wonderful Wednesday for some, even more so because of the ruling yesterday. Others are going, licking their wounds. Well, we're going to leave that alone, get to that another time. What we want you to do is to be safe, be engaged, involved, and recognize there's much that we can do that is simple, inexpensive, and effective as we give you a chance to learn from our good friends from the Security Centre. And then 1 p.m. Let's talk more about the Disability Council and its access. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And truly it's a pleasure to sit next to these fine gentlemen. You know, I keep saying this is why Miss Norma tells us, this is why we have YouTube. Look at not just the informative, but the wonderful guests that you have in your studio. So increasingly, today no exception, as we welcome from the Security Centre, the General Manager, Mr. Abraham Gazarian, right here?
Yeah, thank you.
Abe, I got once in that Ebanks, all other names become difficult to say. But it's a pleasure, formally, to introduce you to our Talk Today audience. So good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Now, many of you may have seen him before on the covers of GQ. Others, recognize that he graced, the pages of Mr. Fitness. Well, none other than the business development manager, Mr. Dean Sinclair. Dean, thanks so much, man. I appreciate, that wonderful career you had once way back, man. You're now here with us, man.
Well, I've transitioned into many different roles, Sterling, as you know, and really welcoming the next phase of life. Thank you very much for having us on. It's a real pleasure to see you again. I think the last time I was here with you was to discuss our traineeship program where a young Canadian boxer, Alexander Smith, was taken into the Security Centre to work as in the installation, the technology team. So that was a while back. Alex did very well there and was with us for a period of a year or so, developed personally and professionally. Our human resources team put in a program to assist and design an educational pathway, and that's something that we're continuing. So it's nice to be able to see you again after that successful program with Alexander. He's a great young gentleman, a fine young man, and a great athlete for the Cayman Islands.
I believe he's joined the fire department.
That's correct. He's moved on to the fire department. He always had a real desire to help people. Obviously, security is one of the industries in which he could have done that, but I remember speaking with him personally, and he always talked about wanting to move into the ambulance. I think it's EMS, ambulance, and I think the fire service is something which aligns quite neatly with that desire to assist people. So anyway, it's lovely to be with you again, Sterling.
Well, thank you. And this is where us companies like yours, but others take on board young high school grads or younger sort of people who have been out of school for a few years after, help them to find their bearings, give them a chance to understand the corporate world, not just the demands on their time, but the requirements, the world of working. And it's not 9 to 5, it's not Sunday through Saturday, and then give them a bearing that they end up maybe finding their passion and pursuing. Whether it's a year with you, whether it's 6 weeks, we never know what they'll do. But as I listen to you, we see companies like the Security Centre, and for some, it's a household name. Unfortunately, the changes that we see in Cayman, not just increasing population, the people who come and go as visitors, people who take up part-time residents, sometimes there are concerns with their personal safety, security, their businesses and the like. and it's be interesting to know what we can do and how we can all contribute to making it safe. Would it be okay if I asked of you to maybe start off and give us a little background? I mean, with the Security Center, tell us about the company.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sterling. So the Security Centre Limited has been around in Cayman for more than 20 years. It initially began as with a focus on provision of security guards, guarding services, personal security services. And so the remit, the vision or the values around that is helping to protect people, their assets and their property. And it was a natural extension for that business then to transition across into electronic security systems, intruder alarms that we all know about when we think about security systems, camera systems and various other access controls. So it went from a traditional manned guarding security officer service provision into a more technology-driven integrated system with almost anything. The sum of the parts should equal more than they exist individually. It's synergy. So with security, it's the same situation there. When you can bring together a variety of different integrated solutions, it provides a better solution. In addition to that, the Security Centre is very proud to have been fortunate enough to be involved in some large government infrastructure projects. The National CCTV System, which is an island-wide network and associated infrastructure of camera equipment to help record incidents and provide police and other authorities with information to track issues and also to have that information recorded. So we've been around for 20 years now. We're very proud of our history, and we're looking forward to continuing to extend our offering, which is really focused on helping to protect the safety and security of the people of the Cayman Islands.
Now, Abe, as the general manager, sometimes the vision, the ethos, the energy and enthusiasm of the management, the leadership team helps not only to translate into the customer base, but the employees sort of portray that on a daily basis. If you would be so mindful, maybe tell us a bit about yourself. Equally, what you see the company becoming, your vision going forward.
Thanks very much, Sterling. I've been here now nearly 6 months. I consider myself fortunate to be in this wonderful island and enjoy the beautiful scenery and obviously making some good friends such as yourself and the others that I've met over the last 6 months. I've been in this industry for over 25 years, and I started my journey as a security officer while I was studying in Canada as a police sciences and criminology. That then triggered a fantastic, I would say, career, a very informative career that I've had initially as a corporate security manager of a bank and later on working for one of the largest security companies in the world and expanding it around the world in so many different countries. Having said that, and to add to your initial comments about taking young graduates or even those who haven't graduated to come into the security center, they actually could make a career out of it for themselves, be it with us in the private security world or with the law enforcement or going into corporate security as becoming potentially our clients. We have a few examples of guards who've transitioned to security managers of various different facilities on the island who are now our customer. And it's great to see that transition. In terms of what are we doing different, we being such a major stakeholder in the private security industry, and we would confidently say that we're the leading company in the island, employing well over 300 people. We're starting to now look at ways to add value, tangible value, because the security is always regarded as an expense until something happens. And in order for us to demonstrate the value of security, we are now putting in systems and investing in technology to aid our different security officers in providing electronic reports, and which will allow us and our management teams, as they visit the clients and meet with them, to look at an aggregate picture of various incidents that took place over a period of time to justify their expenditure. Because basically those incidents, had they not been mitigated, they would have cost a significant amount of money or reputation damage and so on and so forth, especially in an island that is a prime tourist attraction. So we aim to set new benchmarks in the industry, and I think I could speak with confidence that we are already taking some significant steps in making ourselves ready for the next phase, so be it in our qualifications and our qualifying and educating our own management team and different layers, and creating talent management programs. And obviously differentiating our service offering.
All right.
So,
well, when we come back from the break, as we continue the discussion, we're going into, for some, an opportunity to be more festive. Perhaps the letter here down, even me. For others, we may be not as mindful of our personal security, the security of our homes and our businesses. So could you maybe share with us some tips on how to still be festive, but to be safe?
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, having done some homework, and Dean's been looking deeply into this and contacting various law enforcement agencies to get some statistics on what was it the last season. What are the areas, lessons learned from last season, so we could mitigate them.
Perfect.
And this, obviously, burglaries, as Dean could speak for.
Well, when we come back from the break, let's emphasize that. Let's see, because there are things that we can do. So we'll pause, we'll take a short break. When we come back, those tips and trips, those things that we can put in place to mitigate, not just make it safer, but make it for us more festive, and then we can talk about it. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Attention BRAC community, Workforce Opportunities and Residency Cayman is hosting a registration drive for the new online system, Jobs Cayman. Interested persons needing help in finding employment can come to the Cayman BRAC Library on December 9th from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. and register with customer care representatives. A demo presentation for employers starts at 2 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. at the library. Come by and see us. Call 945-9672. or visit www.worc.ky.
Think about something that makes you happy. Did it make you smile? We know it did, because that's what we do at Sagicor. Put smiles on our clients' faces every day. With a large range of products to cover your family, it's no wonder most locals choose Sagicor for their life insurance needs. Serving the community for over 25 years. Let us put a smile on your face. Call your Sagicor advisor today.
Come along with me so that you will see the best company for your road safety. You'll get the theory, you'll get the road from the best driving school that you can afford.
Hi, I'm Berman Scott from the Real Thing Driving School. You can find us on Facebook. Call me on 925-5094 or call 922-6223.
You'll get the real thing. Yes, it's the real thing. You'll get the real thing. The Real Thing Driving School. Consultation, orientation. Come get your lesson. The Real Thing Driving School.
This referendum is bigger than the port itself. This is going to teach our people that, yes, we can make decisions. We can stop roads from being closed. We can stop markets from being developed. We can get jobs. We can be trained. Never again will we be second-class citizens in our own country begging at the doors of the NAU. I implore you to come out and vote in this referendum. We can change our circumstances forever.
For the health of it, Radio Cayman's premier health show is brought to you by Healthcare Pharmacy, the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association, Holy Cross Hospital,
Cayman Fertility Center,
and eatingclean.com.
This is For the Health of It with Tara Bush.
Talk today. but I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. The General Manager of the Security Center, Abraham Gazarian, right? I'll, you know what? We'll change his name. What do you think? Dean Sinclair, the Business Development Manager. What do you think? We should change Abe's name?
I think we'll have to involve all stakeholders in that consultative process, Sterling.
We send it to a poll, perhaps a referendum.
I think why not? Let's see if Abe likes the result.
Not a referendum.
Thanks for letting me.
Not if you want quick results.
This is the beautiful part of being able to engage with not just intelligent people, but people who have a great sense of customer service, loyalty to their stakeholders, and a true desire to serve above self. And as you sit and share with us, we have probably for too long across the globe, but in Cayman, maybe taken a lot for granted, our personal safety and security. Thank God it's still a relatively safe place, but I'm careful to say this because I don't want to be inflammatory in any which way, but we used to say it was crime-free, then it was low crime, and then we just keep moving the goalposts, but not in the in a positive direction. But there are things that we can do that can maybe not just mitigate, but sometimes maybe even totally avoid. But from that perspective, tips for home security, especially over the Christmas season, are there things that you could suggest to us that would be effective?
And as technology evolves, a lot of the available solutions that you could invest in are now far more affordable than they used to be in the past. Having simple things like having a little safe in your house to keep your belongings in, or maybe connecting your home to an alarm station, or installing an alarm system. Nowadays, alarm systems are free, basically, if you sign up for the monitoring contract, and that gives you that peace of mind. But the more importantly, and through my recent discussions with different people that have recently invested in homes here, house insurance seems to be even more expensive than car insurance on the island, and obviously given the weather situation and those risks. However, having installed a security system in your home, that would actually reduce your insurance company costs, because you could show the certifications to mitigate you're mitigating the exposure that the insurance company would have. So if it's a bank that's giving you a mortgage and they want to secure their investment, or if it's an insurance company covering you and they just want to make sure that you've taken some steps to reduce potential risk, then that's now become really affordable, and we're in our case we're actually offering it for free. Now, in addition to that, the holiday season tends to be obviously festive, and with that comes a lot of drinking and driving, and that alone causes a different kind of risk, which is now your safety. It's something to keep in mind when you're planning your trips. Maybe the basics of having a responsible person who may probably decide to be your safe driver, or maybe booking a taxi and things like that. But in terms of your own home safety, a lot of people travel at this season, so they leave their homes potentially vulnerable. And people know when people are home or they're not home, and there are measures you could take. A lot of property here are rental properties, so many people may have keys to your home that you may or may not know of. Not everyone that rents a place comes in and changes the locks and stuff like that. So that's another thing to consider. You may want to just it's just simple things, to be a little bit more vigilant, and maybe have some friends or family pass by and just show some presence. Maybe someone to clear your mail if it's collecting in front of your house and things like that. And maybe have some lights on. You can have systems now that turn on and off your lights automatically.
At different times of the day.
Yeah, like with timers.
Yeah.
So there are different things, and obviously we play a big role in this. We have over 1,000 homes and connected to our monitoring station, and we also have our key holding services that we provide for those who want to entrust their home to somebody who's qualified under international standards.
It's probably worth just explaining that, the key holding side.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Things. I mean, so the key holding system. Tell it. You say international standards. Yeah,
one of the benefits of being spread all over the island, we've actually recently, we were surprised to see, we've done a heat mapping exercise to see where our guards are deployed at any given time, and we're all over nationwide coverage, and with that comes nationwide supervision requirements. So to do that, we have our mobile patrol units that are marked vehicles manned by team leaders that are senior to the security officers that actually perform inspections on the various sites. And those same mobile units, because they're geographically deployed and they're all GPS tracked, they can respond to alarms or emergencies, including panic. To provide that additional initial response presence until the law enforcement shows up, basically, to deal with the situation. So that gives a bit of peace of mind, and that doesn't have to be security incidents. It could be medical emergencies. So let's say you have you're out and you have somebody, an older person at home, that they're on their own, and you want to make sure that they're protected. And that someone actually gets to them, especially if you're traveling, if you have no relatives in town, and you have the peace of mind of having a reaction force available that can react to any point on the island within minutes, basically. And those people, we have contracts where we actually hold keys on behalf of clients to give us access to their premises. Those same premises are, in most cases, monitored, and alarm systems were installed and monitored by us. So there are checks and balances of who accesses what and where, and the entire key holding system is auditable, so that it ensures its own security, and it gives confidence to our potential clients to be able to entrust us with their keys.
And I think sometimes too, some of us who are somewhat familiar with recognized insurance companies where the properties are vacant, unoccupied, if it's unattended, the insurance policy may be voided, or it may impose other restrictions in terms of claims should something happen. So having someone look after the property on a regular basis does not, qualify the property as being unattended.
Exactly, and we not only visit, but we can also demonstrate that we've visited and we've actually patrolled the building inside and out by placing guard tour monitoring tags all over different areas. In some cases, could be mechanical rooms that you want to visit anyways to track the pressure levels or fuel levels or heat and temperature and so on.
I mean, we all wonder about the burst pipe, but what about the pipe that just leak in that drip?
Yeah.
Because with that though, the technology that we see being deployed, maybe Dean, from the perspective of some of the trends in home security, the integration, the innovation, the automation, share with us.
Absolutely. So Sterling, what we're seeing is an environment of almost constant evolution, where we're seeing technology starting to serve people more effectively. So what we're seeing from a basic level is greater integration. And what this means is that the systems that you install in your home can work together a lot more effectively to serve your needs. One example is we have a basic home alarm system that we install free of charge if customers are interested in taking on monitoring. With that system, you can. There's a lot of automation that you wouldn't normally expect from that type of a system. There's something, for example, there's a small panic alarm that we can actually link with that, and then that can notify the monitoring centre, and then the people that you elect to be notified will be notified. There are basic camera systems that are on offer now in the market where you can actually be in Miami away on holiday, decide that you want to have a quick look at the cameras around your home, and you can do that very easily. You can integrate that things with things like security lighting, and then there are big home automation systems, which is an area people would have heard of the term smart homes, and we have a system that we promote, install, and service, which is called Control 4, and that integrates with more than 10,000 third-party systems, whether they be security systems, your blinds, your AV, lighting. All of these types of things can integrate now. So there's more at the fingertips of the consumer to protect themselves than ever before, and really what it's about is engaging with professionals can help advise you and make sure that what you're proposing to protect yourself, whether it be a DIY type of arrangement or something more comprehensive, it fits the purpose. So there's some really exciting stuff out there from our perspective. It integrates very well. It offers a lot more functionality, and it's really convenient just to be able to go on your mobile device. You can unlock, for example, you could be away on holiday, your helper or cleaner could be coming. You can unlock a door from anywhere on the world, and then lock it up again, go on your cameras remotely. It's really a world of innovation out there, and really whatever you want is virtually available.
So what you're sharing, it sounds like not only is this accessible but affordable, it also gives you that peace of mind, and then unlocking the door for people to come to do something at your house. No longer is that key that possibly could be lost, but then you also have that. For some of us, we check and double check. Like came on flight, flight check, cross check, and we confirm.
Yep.
We want that peace of mind to make sure. All right, when we come back from the break, I understand that during the turtle nesting hatching season this time, that your technology was put to some good use.
Yes.
Maybe we could, as we wrap up our discussion, also include Abe from the perspective, the overall mission of the security center. But I want to hear about the turtle technology. That's what we're going to call it for now. Right?
Sure.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Speaking to Dean and Abraham, so stay tuned for Talk Today.
Ocean Med is open for appointments at Bayshore Mall. The only healthcare facility on island designed exclusively for women offers a wide range of radiology-based medical screening and diagnostic tests, such as mammograms and ultrasounds, with state-of-the-art technology, full OBGYN services, a complimentary healthcare coordinator, and a stunning facility equipped with calming, multi-sensory exam suites. Ocean Med is dedicated to providing competitively priced healthcare excellence to women in our community. Book your appointment today. Call 946-2326. Or visit oceanmed.ky.
You can't wear that dress to the party.
But why?
I said you're not wearing that.
Why don't you make more money? We can't go away for the holidays because of you. Domestic violence isn't just physical. It's verbal, emotional, sexual, and psychological abuse. To understand the signs of domestic abuse, visit the Cayman Islands Crisis Center website at cicc.ky. If you or someone you know is suffering from domestic abuse, call our 24-hour crisis line at 943-2422. We believe you. We can help you. The Crisis Center also provides a 24/7 safe shelter for women and children. And for all victims of abuse, men, women, and children, Estella's Place is a walk-in center on Eastern Avenue, ready to help you. Visit cicc.ky for more information. And remember, love shouldn't hurt.
Starting November 1st to December 31st, you can earn double points every time you use your Fidelity credit or prepaid cards. And with added protection of instant text alerts, 90-day purchase protection, and chip and PIN technology, you can shop with confidence. Fidelity. We're good for you.
Wow, looks good. What is that?
Chicken chair.
What did you just say to me?
Chicken chair.
I am not a chicken.
Whoa! I said chicken share. It's from KFC. Bucket of 12 hot wings, 6 pieces of chicken, or 8 tenders. KFC chicken share. Just $12 each.
Oh.
Want some chicken, tenders, or hot wings?
You're sharing your chicken share with me? The new chicken share from KFC. Just $12 each. And it's finger-licking good. Dine at KFC Baytown Plaza, KFC Shedden Road, or KFC at the Strand.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome, Mike. Thank you for giving us some of your time, and with the greatest respect, we want you to not only be safe all year round, but in particular, this Christmas season, if there's anything that this discussion can help you to not just enjoy it, but to be safe. Very grateful to the General Manager over at the Security Center, Mr. Abraham Gazarian, together with the Business Development Manager, Dean Sinclair, for taking a few minutes. As you were sharing earlier, something that I heard one of the former police commissioners share. And when he said it, I thought to myself, wow, is this what we come to? But unfortunately, it is. Christmas time, we get packages with our television sets and whatever else we buy. And we glad to open them, install them, and then put the package either to recycling these days, or we just put them out to the trash. And he's saying, well, look, you just advertising now that you got this new thing for Christmas. So is that making your home that much more of a target? There were years ago when we wouldn't even consider that. Just like now we're considering recycling, we probably need to also consider, well, do we, as the police commissioner has shared, take that box, break it down, disguise it so that no one sees that you now have, proudly boasting and advertising that you got a 50,000-inch, new television screen on your back wall.
Unless you're inviting everyone around to watch TV, of course.
But little things like that. So the deterrents that you can put in, the things that can mitigate, the things that may help with your insurance premiums, but just make yourself safe. So that's important.
We encourage community watch groups to be formed as well. It's always good to at least you and everybody else on your street to maybe every now and then form your own at least neighborhood watch program that it's best practice, and it gives that sense of community, and you start basically watching each other's back, for any reason. Your kids play together. Even when you see an odd car traveling in your street and at a certain speed, and maybe it allows people to take action because you're now. You have this sense of belonging to each other and accountability, responsibility for one another.
So important, man. And that's can't be repeated enough. We are a brother's keeper. We would like to believe we live in a safe world, but are we doing anything to make it safer? With that, though, the safety of us as the residents, but also Cayman, very, very strong seafaring history and heritage, the maritime, but the turtle in particular.
Yeah.
And I hear that you were instrumental in the nesting and the hatching. Now, Dean, did you go there yourself and pet the turtles? Is that what you do? I mean, what happened?
Well, I'm a real nature lover, Sterling, but not on this occasion.
Okay.
It's interesting you mentioned that the maritime history. I read a very interesting book when I first arrived in Cayman several years ago.
Sorry, I just have to ask, you read it or did someone read it for you?
I read it.
Okay.
It was an audio book.
I just teasing.
The maritime history of the Cayman Islands was part of my sort of cultural enlightenment on the history of the islands, and it talked a lot about the connection between the Caymanian people and the ocean, and particularly I believe it used to be called Los Tortugas at one point. It was the island of the turtles. It was such it's so rich with the waters in turtles that it was known for that, and obviously one important extension. They're here to protect people's property and their assets, but one thing that we've done is extended that definition into involving ourselves in protecting the environment. And one of the key cultural pieces of iconography, key icons of the Cayman Islands is the turtle. So we have utilised what was a piece of equipment designed for security of construction sites, border protection, surveillance of events, and critical infrastructure. And we've found a use for that with the Turtle Watch project. Michael Ridley, I believe, was working with the Department of Environment to put together. It was a crowd-funded campaign to put together some funds for a number of things, including launch of our mobile advanced surveillance tower, which is a rapid deployment tower that is monitored by our monitoring station, and essentially what that enables us to do is if there's movement in the area, if there's the possibility of other not domestic wildlife interfering with the turtles, we can get notified of that and we can deploy the necessary resources. So I believe that project, and Michael Ridley would be the person to speak with, but that did win a local community award. So that was a very, I think it was very much a good feeling to be able to move beyond our traditional definition of protecting people and their assets. It sounds like a very dry subject matter, but when we're actually now taking those solutions and diversifying how they can be applied in such a way where we can assist with the environmental diversity of the local, of the islands, we're very pleased to be able to do that.
Well, come in for that, but it comes back to this notion of being a good corporate citizen, and just like the idea that with turtles, I think of other communities and jurisdictions, but Cayman Equal is starting to consider it. We're building on the coastline. What affect the lights that we have in our homes, our roads? What is that doing for the turtles in terms of the nesting? We see other jurisdictions passing legislation that your lighting can't be this, it can't be here, and the like. So why not use the technology to complement or to at least aid? I commend you for that, man. It's a good corporate citizen.
Thank you.
Abe, it just shows you, man, if you invest in your community, the community invests in you.
Absolutely, and part of our mission over the next, the next 3 years mission is to actively increase the percentage of our new joiners from local citizens that we want to attract and create careers for. We're already proud to say that more than 20% of our current employees are local Caymanians, and we want to increase that percentage and make those that we have with us promoters, because they're experiencing a company that invests in their own career path, gives them opportunities. It doesn't have to be in the field security. It could be in HR, it could be in finance, it could be in any of our other functions that are in the back office. But equally so, we have, I mean, when you think of the security center, most likely you're either, you know the logo from either an alarm system at someone's home in a facility, or you've seen a security guard that has our logo on him. But there are other things to the security center that not many people know about. Things like our specialized security services, which are consulting, our latest travel risk advisory. So, for those traveling executives that are going into some colorful parts of the world, for them to have the peace of mind of basically being received, depending on what service they opt for, but they could start receiving country risk reports from even before they travel, so they know what to expect, what kind of vaccines they need, what kind of visas they need, how much currency they should carry, and then once they arrive, we could provide them with meet and greet and drive them to their destinations and back, so that to ensure their security, and in extreme cases, even provide extraction from over 130 countries in the world because of our connection with some of our other international security colleagues, which is not really known here in the market, that we do provide that. But in addition to that, we are providing now process serving and secure mail services, which is an area of growth, plus our specialized construction security service, which you find during construction phases of various projects. But those officers are there not only for security but also for safety. So they could, should the client want us to, the construction company want us to, we could actually monitor certain safety behaviors to make sure that the jobs are done with the least possible injuries.
I think too, as we look at not just the international best practices that we have adopted, but the legislation in some cases we've copied as well relative to sort of safety and health at workplaces, having a complement as you're offering can help not just reduce the risk but make the project much more cost effective, make it perhaps even completed on time. Little things that add value. So much that I think we take for granted for too long. From that perspective, though, as we look, and I think of a lot of more questions, because this area is fascinating to me. How do we make things safer and better? But for those who are listening would want to find out more about not just your services, but also how to contact, what's the best way to get in touch with the team over at Security Centre?
Absolutely. We'd be delighted to assist anybody that wants to get some advice on their security or safety. You can reach us on 949 0004. So that's the Security Centre on 949 0004. Or you can reach us at info@security.ky.
All right. Easy way, man.
Or stop by in our offices. I mean,
Okay.
we're centrally located at the Technology Center.
Well, that I don't want to call it that building, but that facility over there, quite innovative. Off the grid, I see solar panels everywhere. You got an interesting complex compound.
Yep.
Facility.
Yep.
Quite nice one.
Yep. It's the first. So we understand the first off-grid solar-powered facility. It's fully hurricane rated, so we're all all feel very secure in there, Sterling.
That would be the Security Centre, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I hope so. We do need that because of the services we provide. We need to be ultimately reliable, so we can't afford to have anything at risk because we're protecting others.
All right. Well, I tell you what, man. Our personal safety and security, just like our country's stability and prosperity, I think go hand in hand. And it was really, really, grateful that you stopped by for a second and chat with us, and little things that we can do to make the festive season in particular not just festive but safe. And a sort of parting words, Abe, you may want to leave with our listeners. You're the GM, man. You're the man.
I just want to take the opportunity to wish everybody a safe and happy Christmas season and a prosperous New Year from all of us at the Security Centre.
All right, man. But enjoy yourself, man.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Sterling. Lovely to see you again.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And to our listeners, let's pause and take a break. Pick up the headline news at 1, but when we come back, I ask you to join us for more talk today.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access to information. Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
The Cayman Islands Postal Service advises the public to be wary of a fraudulent notice that appears to be popping up on social media sites. The message uses the real CPIS logo, purports to be from Postmaster General Sheena Glasgow, and solicits personal information with the promise of an iPhone. It was reported to the Postal Service today by a concerned member of the public, noting that it's against Postal Service policy to solicit personal information in such a manner. The acting Postmaster General, Melissa Martinez Ebanks, says her agency has reached out to the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service to get to the bottom of the matter. Good afternoon, I'm Dion Anglin with your headlines and news elsewhere. U.S. President Donald Trump has called Justin Trudeau two-faced over a video in which the Canadian leader appears to mock him at a meeting of NATO leaders. Footage showed Mr. Trudeau, UK PM Boris Johnson, and French leader Emmanuel Macron discussing an impromptu press conference held by Mr. Trump. NATO leaders agreed a statement of unity, but the 70th anniversary meeting held near London also saw several rows. And Google founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin have announced they are stepping down from top roles at the online giant's parent company. They will leave their respective roles as Alphabet's chief executive officer and president, but remain on the board. That's a wrap of your headlines. I'm Dion Anglin.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Hi, my name is Neraya LeBlanc. I am the minister and evangelist to the West Bay Church of Christ on 24 Batabano Road. I would love to take this opportunity to invite you to experience God's family at West Bay for yourself. We are a caring congregation that strongly believes in reaching out beyond ourselves to spread the gospel of Christ. We also take great pleasure in ministering to the needs of our people in our community. As God's called out kingdom people, we are in the business of transforming lives for the Master's use. For more information, you can visit our website at westbaycichurchofchrist.org or call us at 946-9294 or 917-1809.
Declaring the word of the Lord.
Cayman Islands Church of Christ presents Word of the Lord.
Word of the Lord, heard Sundays at 6:30 p.m. on Radio Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. And as we continue to not just involve, inform, engage, hopefully help you to feel empowered so that we take ownership in our society. I'm truly honored for her as who she is, for her and all the different hats that she wears. But if she doesn't mind me saying, for her to be the example as a parent, as an educator, as an educated person, as a person who's willing to sacrifice. Dr. Shari Smith,
hello.
Thank you so much. and I say this because I think we are quick to repeat, the scripture, to whom much is given, much is required, except when it's us asking to give more of ourselves, right? Or others demanding more of us. Well, how much more you want me to give? But you, thankfully, always with such a wonderful, warm, inviting smile, just give. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. It's my calling. So,
well, you are. I hope many continue to take a page from your book and follow your example, from the studious, disciplined, dedicated approach to your studies. We were so happy to celebrate. And I say this because I want us, I should probably follow, but I probably won't. You've made a passion of the education. You've been diligent in all, thankfully, who've surrounded and supported and encouraged, even though we couldn't sit your exam, write your papers, but hopefully a little pat on the back and it helped a little bit. And after what seems like a forever, you've successfully achieved your goal at that time. I'm sure there are more goals ahead.
Oh yes, always. But today is not about me.
No. but if you don't love me once more, because I think we don't celebrate our people. You wear many different hats. Right. So today's hat as a member of the Disability Council, again, given, and those who know your former role over at the Sunrise Adult Training Center, this parlay is quite well into that.
This is my heart.
Yeah. Well, it epitomizes you.
This is my heart.
So could we ask, first off, and please guide us so that we understand, but we may not all understand, well, what is the Disability Council? Is this like, and I was going to make a joke about the politicians, but I won't do that yet. I'll be serious for a second. Yes. So start with that. Would that be a good place to start? What is the Disability Council? How did it come about? Its functions and the role? Could we do that?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
That's a great place to start.
Okay.
So, as you know, we have the Solomon Webster Disabilities Law that was passed, I think, a year before last. And that law, which calls for the formation of a National Council for Persons with Disabilities, which really would be the watchdog and advocate for the action plans that the disability policy, which government adopted and accepted, which was in 2014, to monitor that government was, fulfilling the various action plans that were identified in that policy, but also to be the representative of and voice for persons with disabilities. So basically the purpose of the council is to reinforce and promote the recognition and acceptance within our community of persons with disabilities, and the fact that a person with a disability is entitled to have the same fundamental rights as a person who does not have a disability. The council is also about focusing and promoting the dignity and independence of persons with disabilities, which includes their freedom of choice and making decisions in regards to themselves and their life and so forth. And the council also wants to ensure that persons with disabilities are given opportunities to experience and participate in life and community life within the 3 islands, right? To, again, promoting respect, educating themselves, so they, access to education, access to work, access to environment. So the council really is, that body that oversees to make sure that what we need to be doing, what we should be doing, is being done, and then they can be that voice to say that, okay, these aren't the things that are being done. This is, we need to work on this.
And from that perspective, maybe we'll ask: are there particular things that would be sort of categorized as disabilities? So, if you're in order to be considered disabled, you have to meet this criteria?
Well, there are the international definition for a person with disability, and the kind of the short version is that, it is whether it's an impairment, a significant impairment that impacts the daily functioning of that individual, right? And then it usually results in some type of adaptation and modification is required. So in that sense, then, we look at more about what are those fundamental rights and things that they need to be accessing, and how are they are not in place, kind of thing.
And as we speak with Dr. Shara Smith, I recall our conversation yesterday with Ms. Faith Keeley as part of our continued partnership with HSA. Yesterday was the International Day with
persons with disabilities.
Yeah, I was going to say people with disabilities. We can argue about that. And recognize, as it was emphasized yesterday, that when we do things that make it easier for someone who perhaps is wheelchair bound, that makes it easier for everybody.
Yes.
If the road is safe, if the walkway is level and safe, if the access to the building is easy for everybody. Right?
Well, one of the things that whenever I get an opportunity to speak on, this subject, is I try to hopefully get people to understand that a disability is not limited to someone being born with a disability, right? At any point in time in our lives, something could occur that results in us not being able to continue to function the way that we were functioning before. And so just ensuring that what we have in place is in place for everyone, then yes, the entire community benefits. We interact with persons who are different, and then therefore we become a bit more humane and understanding and compassionate, a bit more patient, and these are all things that unfortunately in our world today we seem to be lacking a lot of, and our tolerance and so forth. So really just embracing individuals who have, may have challenges, but doesn't mean that they are limited in what they can or cannot do.
Perhaps we place limitations on what they can enjoy because, for argument's sake, we didn't stop to think, well, not everybody can bounce up the stairs.
Yeah.
Or some may take a little bit longer. But even if they can, would a handrail be helpful? As I listened to you share that not all disabilities are necessarily what we're born with. They're not always permanent, and they may not always be obvious to us. The person who isn't able to see because of whatever reason, we may recognize that, but there may be some other. So just being respectful.
Exactly. Because I think definitely, a lot of times people think of persons with disabilities and you automatically go to the person who's in the wheelchair. But, or they'll automatically think of somebody who is visually or hearing impaired, so something that you could physically see. But there are a lot of disabilities that aren't necessarily, can be physically seen or noticed unless you actually interacting with that person, and then you get to understand, well, okay, maybe that's not right.
See, this is where my joke would come in, that you wouldn't know unless you ask for are they a card-carrying member of a political party. But I won't make that joke.
No, you won't.
No, I you know what? It's Christmas, and if you can't have, no, just kidding. But the idea that you don't always see the disability, and the person with a known obvious disability may not want you to emphasize that, for whatever reason, right? There's that sense of independence and self-respect that they have. Hey, I can do this, just give me the time. We now, as their friends, as their family, as even a perfect stranger, need to kind of, well, hey, let me respect you, but don't hinder,
Yes. And just, again, what we would want, we want to ensure that they have, they are entitled to have the same thing. In a perfect world, there would be no differences. Everybody would be getting.
With great respect to you, to the council, right? Could I share this? And if it is publicly now, you not only chastise me, but correct me and guide me. So I had a couple of conversations this morning, and strangely enough, and the third person to say it was only after, this is your conversation. Beach accesses, right? We take it for granted that they're there. We understand the challenges that the different, the heroes of those three ladies trying to make sure those accesses are there.
Right.
But even something as simple as leaving some construction debris in the path, or letting a hedge, or in some cases just the type of hedge they plant, the bougainvillea, for instance. And the lady was sharing, she was taking her elderly mother. Just takes a little bit of time, parked on the road, the path is there and they're walking. But there were some little, I call them impediments in the way. Whether they were deliberate and malicious, whether they were just there because the person who left it there weren't attentive.
Right.
But something like that made that move from the roadside to the beach that much more difficult for this lady with her mother, who, there's no disability in that sense, but it was certainly.
It's giving you the accessibility.
Yeah.
And, and we do see that in our elderly, that their functions, as they get older, that their functions do get more limited. And so you often will require some of the accessibility devices or, adaptions that a person with a disability would. Which goes back to, it's, what we do in our community isn't just good for the person with a disability, but it's good for all of our community members. It's the same thing with, we have the blue spot parking spaces, and we have, the campaign where persons are not supposed to, if you do not have a disabled tag and you're not a person with a disability, you should not be parking in there, because those parking spaces are there so that persons who have disabilities and who have vehicles which usually require a bit more space to allow them to get in and out, have that opportunity to do so and engage in shopping and doing whatever it is that the business that they need to, So it's just, again, it goes back to us being aware of not just, of others and our environment. And it's not just only about us, but how does it impact other people who may or may not be there at that time.
Being respectful, considerate, the little things that matter. All right, Dr. Shari Smith, let's just pause quickly, take a short break. We'll come back, we'll continue our discussion as we focus on the Disability Council and the notion that there's so much we can do. Sadly, so much that we probably take for granted, and so much that we don't recognize affects negatively the lives of those of us who may have some disability. So please, join us after the break.
It's time for more winners and better prizes this Christmas with Kirk Freeport's $40,000 sweepstakes. You could win one of 3 $5,000 cash prizes or a daily cash prize of $1,000 just for shopping at your favorite Kirk Freeport store. All purchases of $100 before noon on Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. There's even a special Rolex watch prize draw on January 2nd and loads of other great prizes to be won. More winners, better prizes every Christmas with Kirk Freeport's $40,000 sweepstakes. Full details on kirkfreeport.com. Merry Christmas from everyone at Kirk Freeport.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
Headlines.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars, local, regional, international.
Headlines.
Turning to international news.
Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Homeowners, enjoy the season of giving with Brit K. It's easy.
Purchase any new home buildings policy, and our gift to you will be a $250 gift certificate and a Ring security camera.
Existing home client? Renew early and be entered in our weekly draw for a $100 gas voucher.
Call 949-8699 today. Brit K, where people come first. Part of Colonial Group International. Terms and conditions apply.
The holiday season is here. Time to look your best. Company parties, family parties, New Year's parties. Look your best. Feel your best. Be your best. With High Fashion Design Studio. Full salon treatment along with top designer brands clothing, plus size clothing, accessories, and more. High Fashion and Design Studio. Located in Cayman Trade Center, 199 Eastern Avenue, across from Bananas Restaurant. Call them today, 945-4415. That's 945-4415. To book your high fashion and design experience today. Be bold, be true, be you. Merry Christmas to the entire Cayman community.
For the record, a fresh approach for information that matters to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you.
For the record.
Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM.
For the Record is brought to you by Vamped Motors, the only authorized Ford and Toyota dealership serving the Cayman Islands. Cayman Pharmacy Group, with a location in West Bay and professional pharmacy at CTMH Doctors Hospital. The Cayman Pharmacy Group has a location for you just around the corner. And Seaboard Marine, with over 35 shipping ports, find your shipping solution by calling 949-4977 or visit seaboardmarine.com for competitive rates.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. And next 10 minutes or so of the excellent company with Dr. Shari Smith, this time in the capacity as a member of the Disability Council. That's the fair enough name of it, because I know sometimes, National
Persons with Disabilities.
National, yeah.
Long title.
Long time. Disability Council.
We'll go with Disability Council.
Okay.
I mean, nice
and it's not a council. This is. But you, when I said your council, the relatively short time, because the legislation hasn't been in play that long.
Right.
If you don't mind me saying, my perception, you're very active. You're very, as a council, you're very, not only do you meet, but you seem to be proactive in saying, how do we engage the public, helping us as a public to be cognizant, to be mindful of, we can do things. And hopefully, as a populace, business owners, as parliamentarians and policymakers, as others, that we start to see that we can do things that doesn't have to be that difficult.
Well, I think, too, one of the things that I have definitely seen since the establishment of the law and the council is persons with disabilities advocating for themselves a lot more. The council isn't a tribunal council, but as you know, in a small community, once you know someone with a little bit of knowledge, then all of a sudden they become the point of contact, right? So we have received a lot of various concerns from persons in the community who are having different challenges and have been able to guide them in the right direction or follow up on something to kind of help them along,
Right.
which to me is, even though that may not necessarily be the actual role of the council, but it's great to think that, okay, people are now feeling comfortable that they're like, you know what, I do have an entitlement to express myself or to be concerned, and this is where I can go to get more information so that I can continue to advocate for myself and that independence as a person in this community. And so I think I know that the council in the new year, we're looking at becoming more visible in the community, looking at how to, in terms of the regulations that need to accompany the law that has been passed, and various things. One of the things that the council did partner up with this year or earlier in the year was the Moby Mat. So, you were talking about accessibility to the beach, and so ensuring that persons with disabilities have access to the beach in terms of, especially if there's a long, lengthy walk. And it's been great for other persons, especially persons, the elderly who also like to go swimming. But again, trudging through all of that sand is a difficult task.
Not just for them.
Exactly, not just for them. I mean, so, but that was one of the projects that we were able to complete. And so there's more things on the table that the council will be, bringing forward as well.
As you said that, and again, not trying to inflame any situation, but again, I speak to this from the perspective that since the council, the education and the awareness, I think it makes more of us stop and think and be conscious. And two things immediately pop to mind. One is my perspective, right? So if this is out of order, people just call and take me to task, right? But there was a time not long ago when I believe, not trying to defend the people, I think some of us parked in those handicap park spaces, we call them, now we call them the blue spot, because they weren't being used. We didn't realize that they were there for a reason, and we saw it there.
Right.
But I think more and more people are very conscious now, hey, I'm not authorized to park there, so I'm not going to park there, even if that's the only space available. And so over time, that becomes the accepted norm, not because of a threat of embarrassment or a threat of some sort of penalty. You just don't park there, right? And I think, whether it was the police officer inattentively parking there, whether it's the expectant mother just going in, whether it was the young fellow who just come from the gym and went into his juice, sometimes people would pull in without a second thought. Now we're not doing that. But equally, as you were sharing that, the beach, I'm thinking, we look at some of the beach accesses that exist and they're side by side.
Right.
Two small accesses. Is it possible now to combine those two accesses, but not just make them wider, but make them so that when they terminate at the beach, there is a spot that we can turn around, drive our vehicles in, offload our stuff, the small children, the elderly parents, the person with the physical disability or the like, and then we can not park there but drive back out, as opposed to two 6-foot paths that are side by side and impeded by some hedge that becomes maybe one 4-inch path. You now have a 15-foot path, for argument's sake. Little things that could potentially, I think of, was it Plantana and the Pinnacle? Plantana's path is excellent. The Pinnacle seems to terminate into, anyway, I take a bulldozer and go from the road to the sea, but that's another story. But little things that could help us to enjoy the public spaces, the access to the beach for everybody.
Exactly. I mean, we need to be a more inclusive society in all aspects. And, a lot of times you hear the word inclusion and it's only, most people associate it with, school.
Yeah.
But inclusion applies to all aspects of our lives. And so, again, going back to in a perfect world, but why can't we work towards that perfect world? So if we are being inclusive in all aspects of our community, whether it's not just education, but it's where people have access to park, where they go to the playgrounds, to the grocery stores, to the movies, shops, any of that. If that is then created so that it's accessible to everyone, then we will hopefully develop a society where, again, it's just we're accepting of all of the differences and so forth. It's one of the things that with raising my two children and obviously being in special education needs and so forth, I took them everywhere with me, and they probably are stressed out because of that. But whenever I was training with Special Olympics, they were there. And up to today, when my daughter has to volunteer, she still volunteers with Special Olympics and so forth. But from a young age, they were exposed to persons with disabilities and persons who looked and talked and worked differently, but it was, quote unquote, normal for them, So now as young adults, interacting with persons or advocating for persons with disabilities comes very, very natural. And it's like amazing. I mean, I remember my daughter saying something about, being at a school, at a function somewhere, and an individual who had autism was doing something, and she heard some boys make a remark, and she got really upset, and she went over and she spoke to them, and I was like, wow, great, and when she went back to school, she talked to the teacher, and she talked to this is not acceptable behavior, so if we're raising our children to be that way, and we as adults are also doing that way, then it's a domino effect. So why not? It's not that difficult, right?
No, and as you shared, the idea that we introduce our children to those environments, that they understand that, like I said, this is their norm.
Right.
Not only the tolerance, the acceptance, the inclusion, the recognition, the respect, the consideration, all those things that we want anyway.
Yeah.
But you start to realize how they themselves become stronger advocates, not just for others, but for themselves.
Yes.
And their sense of independence and self-worth as they advocate. Think down the road now when they become parents, how much better the society is, so that the things that we may be pushing for in terms of, I use this as an example because when I was ending up my studies, this was coming in as legislation, the Americans with Disabilities Act. Right? That took a long time to sort of make its way through the U.S. sort of parliamentary system as it was. And this piece of legislation was transformative. Yep. And now it took a while to take full effect. It took a while to sort of get on board with everybody and the changes to building codes and the like. But if we borrow that and we employ that in our own system, we could have a much more accessible society in so many ways that is so much better for all of us.
For everyone,
Back to the beach accesses, I mean. It's one thing to have on block deliberate otherwise, but what if just carelessly? You're gardening and you drop the garden debris or the construction material is poured right here, not paying attention because it's convenient.
Yeah.
But what about the person? Are you parking in the spot because it's just a quick turnaround, you're in, you're out? Or you've made an access, but you're not thought of the person, well, how do I get to that access? And would it be better? Little things.
Yeah. And we all need, it starts somewhere, and there's no reason why we can't do the things that,
Well, Dr. Shari, to you and the members, if in the new year, and certainly continuing between now and then and thereafter, if this forum could be used to help to educate and inform, to help not just to advocate, but for us as a people to become more sensitive and sensible, let us know. It's important. I know you have another pressing important hat that you wear as well. So I say this sincerely. It's thankful that there are men like you in the society, and I hope more of us will look to people like you and take a page, because it's amazing the good things that happen here. Sometimes we take it for granted as well.
Well, it's a pleasure being here, and I was glad that I could represent the council on this occasion, and I definitely know that our chairman will take you up on that challenge, opportunity to share, because like I said, I know that's one of our goals, to be a bit more active in educating persons, our community, on how we can be more inclusive and aware.
And I think too, all of us, from the very top person who may be political, elected or appointed, to the person who thinks, well, I'm just, just here.
Yeah.
We don't realize sometimes that, we need to be aware, consciously aware of what is happening, how this thing is unfolding, and how we can impact and how we're impacted by it. And it may come to pass that sometimes in order to something to get the necessary attention, there needs to be a little bit of, let's say, celebration.
Yep.
All right, Dr. Shari Smith. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on behalf of the council, just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Amen. To you, to the council members, and I will say it hopefully often, a safe, blessed, productive, enjoyable Christmas. Now, when we come back, let's have some open line. Let's take your calls. You want to take it in any direction, I'm here. And if I can help facilitate, if you think there's a question that you've been pressing and you want to ask and you were hoping that I would answer, I can't promise you'll answer it, but I can tell you this, the opportunity for you to ask is available. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Preventing dengue is as simple as preventing mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent, wear protective clothing, and stay indoors during early dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Control the places around you where mosquitoes breed. Remove stagnant water in outdoor and household settings. As a weekly habit, persons should change the water in vases, clear the water in saucers under potted plants, and ensure air conditioner drip trays are free of stagnant water. Outdoor objects capable of holding water should be kept empty and preferably disposed of or put into dry storage if not used. These include open bottles and tins, watering cans, buckets, empty paint tins, and old vehicle tires. Do your part to control the spread of dengue. The dengue virus is an infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. Symptoms may come on as early as 4 days or as late as 3 weeks following an infection. There is no vaccine or specific medication to treat dengue. Symptoms of dengue include high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, joint and muscle pain, and rash. If persons have any of these symptoms, they should go to the nearest health center or hospital. It is advised to drink lots of liquids and avoid medication that contains aspirin.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. And mics are up. Phone lines are open. Miss Susan is standing by. I mean, the only one thing missing from this studio is some custard top cornbread, some cassava cake, or even some turtle dinner with some sea pie. But in the absence of all of that, we want to invite you to be a part of our discussion. Call and share your thoughts on our open line segment, 949-8037. Or toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. Now, we also have the option of sending us your thoughts on our WhatsApp. You can record a voice note. Can't say that I'm particularly good at it that way. You can type it. I mightn't be that good typing it either, but you can try it. 925-3261 is our WhatsApp. 925-3261. And in which way do you choose? We want to hear from you. And it's open line and we can talk. Now, if you had the good fortune to listen to Mr. Art Connor this morning as he was, on for the record, and you had a couple of questions as he shared with some of our listeners and as the callers called in, similar questions that have been asked on his program. We've had them asked here. We've had them asked following the ruling yesterday from the Grand Court relative to the referendum. One question that we had asked, is, should I still apply for an absentee ballot now, or do I wait? We will, very confidently expect answers to many of these questions. I can see the elections office perhaps doing a press release, maybe some frequent asked questions, but we will pose some questions to them and hopefully be able to get some responses. Now, as you know, as the Elections Office recent press release indicated, we're going to put things on hold until we know more, how this process is going to unfold. As you know, the courts ruled yesterday that let's wait until at least January the 20th when that hearing takes place, and then we'll figure out what goes after that. Now, many of you have asked questions, and honestly, I don't have the answers. I will try to at least repeat some of the questions that were asked of us, partly because there may be someone out there with the same question, or they may have the willingness, the courage to offer an answer. It may be that it may inspire you to ask the question that you want to ask, but you thought, that's a dumb question, and so I don't want to ask it. But hey, I don't believe there's an opportunity like now to ask a question. Start first by someone sharing, well, what's going to happen between now and whatever happens. Will the government just continue and say, hey, you know what? Let's just push forward this thing, and it'll get to a point where the courts will say, well, it's all a moot point now because look out there, the docks are built, too late now. No, I don't think the government's going to do that. But some of you have said, well, will the government advance the process to a point where it's really just become, all for naught because they've already gone, 10, 15 million, whatever the expenditures to date, however much, hundreds of thousands or millions, whatever has been spent on promotion and production and, presentation and the like. Some of you have asked, well, wait a minute now, should we have parties who have an interest in the outcome, for instance, and very deliberately, so that there's no misunderstanding, those involved with the process from the cruise lines, should they be on our shores having, as they did in the past, promotion and how do I put it, presentations to the public as a way to try to convince and sway public opinion, given that they're not elected officials, they're not citizens of the country. Is that meddling in national affairs? Is that something that the public has been a little bit too willing to accept? No, not saying that having people come and give information isn't informative and instructive and helpful, but should they be the ones, guiding, swaying public opinion? Now, in addition to that, is there a need now for people to stay informed and involved and engage? Because this is the end of it. There is only sort of the continuing process or the beginning of what will come. Others have asked a question, and I said to you that I don't have the answer. Some of these questions I haven't even thought of them. But someone said, no, well, this question, and as I listened to Mr. Art this morning, I'm grateful to know that he repeated some of the questions. It may be that some of the same people ask the questions of him. I'm confident that it's the same. Also confident that there are other people with a similar question who are asking. But they're saying the question, will that be reformulated in a different way? Will that be the outcome so that as best as possible? And I think it's the intent of everybody on every side to make the question as simple, as objective, as impartial, as neutral as possible. Now, I know some of us have said, no, that's not that. They want to slide it this way and slide it that way. I'm going to take the perspective that they're trying to make it as easy, as understandable, as neutral, as impartial as possible. Now, others have shared, well, would the question be reformulated? Will it be a case where, with respect to the amount of money that is being spent by all and sundry, whether they're for or against, or they're trying to get information out, that there is a limit? And will that limit start afresh? Or will it be, well, you spent this amount so far, so you only have this amount left? Again, should there be any money spent at all? Questions that, well, maybe you have an answer. Others have shared, well, let's say you go forward and a dock is built. And it's built under what some of us understand to be the scenario where the cruise lines that contribute to the construction gets a preference to being able to dock at the dock. Will the other cruise lines that have to be tendered, what will they do? Will they say, well, listen, we're not being treated fairly. In fact, we feel like we're getting a bad rap here, so we're going to not bother coming anymore, or we're going to reduce the amount of times that we come. What will that do for, one, the revenues to the country? What will it do for the sort of client profile, the tourist profile that comes to the shores? Will we get, less affluent people or less numbers of the affluent people? Will it be a different mix that remains? Will that mean that because we have less numbers coming, or will it potentially extend the repayment period? All sorts of things are possible. Or will it mean that if you only dock in 4 ships and now you have 8, the tendering of the other 4 or the other 6 or the other 2, what would that do for the whole sort of environmental impact? Again, questions to be asked. Now, in that vein, a lady who said, maybe because she's getting a little bit older now than she was 20 years ago, maybe she's paying more attention to the political process. She said she's voted for as long as she became eligible, but she was asking the question, if you have 2 dominant cruise lines in the mix, will they create such a greater influence on the market that they can make certain demands that they can dictate to perhaps not just only the powers that be, but the tour operators and the other players in the game, because now they have the lion's share. Again, potentially, that is something that some have considered. Equally, some have shared, once we look at this thing, would we now be mindful that we look at it again in a fresh lens? Unlike what was said, we're only considering, the the Georgetown area. No, thank you, Ms. Susan. I confess, I've been talking a lot this morning. I usually get to listen, but people asking questions, and I'm like, why are you asking me? But as some have shared, do we now, and should we be now required to look at other options, including, just like some of you said, in everything you do, the first thing is, well, what if you do nothing? And then what if you do A? And what if A and B and C and the like? Do we consider multiple scenarios? Others have said, well, what if we look at this whole process from the perspective that, as some have shared, when we look at the impact a project of this nature will have, do we make sure that we take time to get it as objectively, as impartially as possible, an assessment by an independent third party, maybe some university, maybe some think tank or the like, as opposed to what some have alleged, that if you're paying someone, whether you call them a consultant or otherwise, to give you a report, the chances are they're going to tell you what they think you want to hear. Is that what we want when it's such an important project that would span potentially so many lives and over so many decades, and cost us so many hundreds of millions of dollars, that potentially could be doing things that are irreversible? Do we need to be as objective in that? And some have shared that when we make an assessment, that we just don't only look at the environmental impact, we look at the financial, the economic, what's going to cost us in terms of building and maintaining, but what is the cost of all the other things? So to do this means that you need to, for argument's sake, put in roads and other amenities and the like. So that infrastructure, what is that involved in? What is the impact on the quality of life while this thing is being built? How is the people that you're bringing to your shores by the cruise ships, how is that experience impacted? What is happening with them while you're doing it? To all of the other things that come into play. Now, maybe that scope of works in that study needs to be extended, not just, to include all those things and to be as exhaustive as possible. So we include as much as we can, but it isn't a study that is done, over 6 weeks or 6 months. Maybe it needs to be done over a year or longer, just to see what happens, throughout all of the different, for want of a better word, the seasons of the year that we experience here, to give us as much of empirical evidence as we can, because at the end of the day, there are going to be things that are going to be irreversible. And I don't believe that any of us want to deliberately or maliciously, do anything that is going to compromise our safety and our security and cause the future stability and prosperity to be in jeopardy. But again, a number of questions. Now, there was even one other question that was posed by someone. I heard it earlier, and when I heard it, I knew I heard it before from others, some of whom were saying opportune time. But they said, should the populace, if the opposition, as the elected members of the Legislative Assembly, if they're unwilling, if they don't have the courage or the conviction, or whatever the reason is, but should the populace, the electorate, those who are eligible to vote in an election, now start a campaign and say, well, listen, this just shows that there's more at stake here, and instead of playing politics with this and leave it just to the politicians, whether they're on this side with the government, whether they're on this side with opposition, whether they're down the middle here, or whether they're undecided, hey, why don't we rally and say, let's take this thing, to a greater outcome and look at a national election earlier than whatever. That's not to inflame, to offend, or to otherwise say. Now, as one gentleman shared, he said in other jurisdictions, this sort of outcome would be, how did he put it? He didn't say fan the flames. I wish I could use the word he used. It'll come back to me, so forgive me. Sort of the impetus now for something that will galvanize the populace. And I think it's a term that we probably hear in politics, so I'm not that astute in local political parlance. But it would be that thing that serves as the impetus now to galvanize the populace to come forward and say, hey, we need to champion an election, a general election, because it is obvious that those in power aren't necessarily listening and hearing the views of the general public relative to this issue. And so what is a general election but a referendum, and let it be a vote to the public. Now, one other lady mentioned that when individuals start to share that, we had a call for a referendum, numbers, that would be sufficient to trigger the referendum were attained, and now it's been postponed, that somehow you want it, now you got it, you don't want it. She said that's not the case. For her, as one of the signatories, it doesn't mean that she wanted to be consulted or that she's offended that it's been postponed. She says, for her, and this was only her view, I've invited her to either send me a message so I can read her comments verbatim, or if she would, as I've asked her repeatedly, just call so that you can hear what she said, because I can't, honestly, as much as I would try, I can't repeat what she said verbatim. I can't repeat it with the same level of conviction as politely and respectfully, but there was a level of passion. But as we go to the break, she shared quite clearly, there was so much about the referendum question, the timing, the whole issue of how the thing unfolded and the outcome, that she was left confused. And yet, even though she thought she knew how she was going to vote, she thought that if she voted that way, that would mean this, she was still somewhat unsure. And now that there's a chance for this whole issue to be looked at and have the courts help in setting not just the precedent, but setting the policy as to what would happen, she thought it would be helpful so that when we do it right, and everybody, even the champion for or against, can at least say, well, what, we did one that is going to be helpful for future generations, so at least use as a reference point. Let's pause and take a break. And when we return, we want you to call and share your thoughts. And you know what? You might like what I said. You might be say, boy, I don't know what kind of chocolate cake he had for breakfast, but, don't give that to him again. Others may choose to say, what? He shouldn't just have a slice. He should get a whole cake and then go back for more. But without your calls, comments, contributions, it's not as good. So we invite you to share your thoughts. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
We say we're a Christian nation, but we just rampantly destroy the environment that God has given us. We've just celebrated the 60th anniversary of our coat of arms and are very proud of our motto on there, which says, "He hath founded it upon the seas." But we can't take that line in isolation. That line comes from Psalm 24, and the verse right before that reminds us that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. He expects us to take care of it because it ultimately belongs to Him. It is not ours to destroy.
It's your vote, your future.
So make a decision based on fact.
You deserve the whole truth.
The 7 a.m. News, Monday through Friday, brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
We are Radio Cayman, and this is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time on Radio Cayman.
Sing your praise to the Lord. Come on, everybody, stand up and sing one more. Hallelujah, give your praise to the Lord. We are united in Jesus Christ. We are the soldiers of the land.
Praise time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
There's a meeting up in heaven. Roll call. It's a name in the Lamb's book of life. Roll call, brother, sister. Roll call. If you don't stop shouting, if you don't stop dancing, we're going to put you out of our church.
Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Your song flowed through my lips. Your work moved through my hands. Your thoughts stay on my mind. Live in me.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. And as some of you have recognized and advised us, we do apologize, but we see that the 1-800 number, well, sometimes, things for free don't always work the way you wanted to work. So we apologize for that. So call us on 949-8037 or 949-6990. We do apologize if you're trying the 1-800 number and you're not able to access us. Now, don't go ahead, as my friend off air just shared, and having a conspiracy theory and say, "Oh, you see that? They don't want me to call in." No, it's just sometimes technology don't work the way you want it to work, But we have so many other ways. If you have the means, that you can call us 949-8037 or 949-6990. Of course, you can WhatsApp. Now, you can't call us on that number because we can't answer it, but you can record a voice note. You can type it up, or however it is that you get your text to appear. You can WhatsApp us 925-3261. But if you want to get on air and you want to talk to us, certainly we want to hear from you. 949-8037 or 949-6990. Now, with respect to the whole issue of the referendum, I was just trying to look through the notes of the different questions that some of you have asked, and there are a couple of the questions that I'm not sure it's at this time appropriate to ask, but one was asked and maybe there's an answer there and I missed it. The referendum isn't going to be held. Some of you are thinking, well, why is it then that we should still have the public holiday? Some of you are glad for the holiday because, hey, it's a holiday. Whether you have to work or not, you get paid more or not. Others have said, well, is it that difficult to undo the holiday? Shouldn't it just be, how simple? I'm not sure exactly how to process. I can hear the arguments from some that would say, well, listen, It shouldn't be that difficult. The public would understand that the holiday was put in play for a specific reason. That reason isn't going to materialize right now, presently. So let's just undo it. What would that involve? I don't know. Some of you have shared, well, does it mean that the Legislative Assembly has to meet to do that? Is it something that can be, changed? A few of you have said, listen, just like the government made a holiday relatively simple through cabinet for the visit of the royal family. They made this a holiday. They can undo it. Now, I leave it to you as to whether that's important. I can share that the limited feedback, relatively speaking, is that it's neither here nor there in terms of importance as our public has shared. But again, just one of those things that come in. All right, let's go to our phones. And again, we apologize that the 800 number isn't working, but the others are. So let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon.
How are you today?
Not too bad, sir. Mr. Alden, he had something on there, the radio, some weeks ago, that the port or the cruise ship here would not be stopped unless it was a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, a miracle has happened that the judge has decided to listen to at least a good bit of the people on the Cayman Islands.
Mm-hmm.
My advice is to him now, he had to make another miracle. So he should get up now and make another miracle to see, because miracles we cannot make.
Mm-hmm.
They're from the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
So if you think he's come out of the Bible, well, make his other miracle. And you all have a nice day.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing. And as the caller reminds us, the whole issue with respect to the date for the referendum has been shifted, has been postponed. So the decision is relative to the timing of the referendum. The issue with respect to the port is still, very much in play. It just isn't going to be now for the public to go, or I should say, the registered voters or electorate to now go to the polls to weigh in as to whether we are voting this way or that way. So that isn't going to take place as had been planned in a couple of days' time. Relative to the referendum, now January the 20th, the courts will, hear the whole motion on a judicial review relative to the issue, and then thereafter. So it's not that the port has been stopped. It's not that the government isn't going to go forward or whichever. That's for down the road. Now, as some have shared, and I say to you, I love politics. I love listening to older people share about political experiences here and elsewhere. I also very much enjoy hearing our younger people, our high school students, not just our college students, sort of weigh in on the political landscape. And some very, very heated, very passionate. Some perhaps even would be considered vitriolic in the sentiment. Oh, well, now it's time now that the government should resign because, this. Now, it's wonderful to be able to hear that level of interest. The question is, as the fellow shared earlier, that in other jurisdictions, this would be jumped on by the political opposition. This would be something that the electorate now would use. If I could recall the way he phrased it. But my interpretation of the impetus now that would galvanize a movement to say, okay, you know what, let's get this thing going. I'm not going to tell you that's what you do or don't do. I'm just saying that this is an electorate that very much love their politics. And I can imagine that over the Christmas, after a few, rounds of dominoes and the like, you're going to hear some very heated discussions. And maybe you'll be a fly on the wall. Maybe you'll be seated at a table and, doing a 6-up. You'll hear all kinds of stories. But again, let's be involved and informed. Let's do so in a very responsible, civilized way. But let's recognize that if we don't champion our democracy, if we, aren't willing to engage and get involved and make sure things transpire, in the best possible way, then we have ourselves to blame. If we only point fingers at those who are elected or who are, as we allege, are pulling the strings of those who are elected, then aren't we equally, if not more so, at blame or part of the problem and not part of the solution? If we say to, oh, those politicians, they're not, whichever, but we're not getting involved, then really it's easy to criticize and find fault. Are we willing to offer ourselves and perhaps offer up a solution? All right, looks like the news time is here. I'm so grateful that Miss Susan is part, of our unfolding production. Again, our toll-free line isn't as engaged as we like. So please call us on 949-8037 or 949-6990. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news. Access.
Local, regional, international, this is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. Preferred port bidder Virgin Isle Port Partners issues a statement saying it looks forward to the outcome of the judicial review hearing. That's for the proposed cruise berthing and cargo port project referendum. The hearing is expected to take place in January 2020. The VIPP group also says they believe the information they've distributed to date has been effective in addressing many of the concerns raised and reiterated a commitment to make adjustments to the project plans to address any issues raised and ensure the project is undertaken in an environmentally responsible way. In international news, U.S. President Donald Trump has called Justin Trudeau, quote, two-faced after a video in which the Canadian leader appeared to mock him at a meeting of NATO leaders. The footage showed Mr. Trudeau, Boris Johnson, and French leader Emmanuel Macron discussing an impromptu press conference held by Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump canceled a press conference planned for after the summit. CNN is reporting that French police have launched an investigation after Nazi swastikas and anti-Semitic graffiti were spray-painted on 107 graves in a Jewish cemetery near Strasbourg. The French Interior Minister, who visited the ceremony in eastern France today, described the incident as a heinous act of anti-Semitism. And a quick check of the stock market. The Dow up 185. It's at 27,687. The Nasdaq up 0.57%. It's at 8,569. And the S&P 500 also in positive territory, up 0.69%. It's at 3,114. That's a quick look at your headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. Call and share your thoughts with us. 949-830. 8030. Was it, Susan? Come on. Say it to us so the public can hear it. Come on. I will probably say it wrongly. So 949. Come on, Miss Susan. 949 something. 8037. Come on, Miss Susan.
It's 949-8037.
949-8037.
Correct.
Okay. And the other one is what? 949 what?
949-6990.
Now you see why she's an employee here. Thank you very much, Susan. See, hearing another voice, it makes it that much easier. Thank you for allowing me to engage you publicly.
We're just working to rectify what the issue is with the toll-free number.
Apparently, the string from one can to the next hasn't connected.
I don't think so.
Is that what it is? No, we apologize. The toll-free line isn't there. Probably gets overused and now needs a little rest. Maybe it's on vacation in the back. Maybe.
That's a good idea. Yes.
Wouldn't it be? It be? All right. Well, I don't know, man. I'm just glad that we have such a wonderful team here. And again, our apologies. But 949-6990 or 949-8037. It's only cost a couple of cents these days. You remember when it was real expensive to call places? Well, no more. It's almost free as it is. So give us a shout and share your thoughts with us. Now, the other issue with respect to the whole question of the port, I think more people are now asking the question because they feel perhaps encouraged, they feel like they've got a little bit of motivation, and we'll ask a few of those questions. But let's go to the phones, though. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Sterling Dwayne.
My good friend, how are you?
Very good, you know.
Very good. Life is peaceful in the land in which you are?
Very peaceful. I think now that we have kind of crossed the threshold here when it comes to decisions we're trying to make in our community in terms of the port, I think we need to focus on the whole idea of this new the permit system and this new pillar and this it's just a new way of creating another 100,000. But I am personally like, these islands can probably hold about 70,000 to 80,000 people, right? And when you increase this, either way, that landfill is going to increase, even though they're taking measures right now to curb a lot of what is going into the environment, especially at the landfill. But it's just simple math. You're going to increase the numbers, you're going to increase the waste. Moreover, if we are bringing in this amount of people, and, you know, I paint homes, and if you can hire two Filipino or two international, Jamaicans are internationals right now, and you can get two of them for the $10 or the $12 that we're asking for minimum wage. It makes me, I'm valuable, but somehow you find a way around me. Because you can always have the option of the cheap labor. And so this, I find that is the most disheartening when it comes to a psychological, the way we are going to start thinking about ourselves. Are we valuing ourselves or are we valuing others?
Well, as you share that, right, if I could, I don't like to talk out of school, but I'm very mindful that we have some incredibly not just engaged, intelligent individuals in our society, but they're informed and they're willing to share if you're just willing to take a second to listen. So yesterday, during a business transaction, I had a chance to speak briefly with a young lady, and she was saying that sometimes you don't appreciate the society in which we live here, and the more that we import labor that is able to be paid at a very, very low wage, are we cognizant of that negative impact that we're having on the wider society? And, you know, it reminds me of an engineer friend who talks about, you know, if you want what was that, peanuts for monkeys, that sort of thing. And as she was sharing yesterday, that we need to look at what potential could be the impact on the resident population with depressing the wages, but equally, you know, what are we doing in terms of the survival of those people who come here, who have to live and pay rents and shop and the like? How are they going to survive if what, you know, the money they're making isn't enough to even, you know, make ends meet, as it were?
Well, there are some abuses that come with these people too, and, you know, having them and people, you know, enforcing and having their way with them as well, you know. And most of the time you're not going to hear that particular side, because at the end of the day, people come here, they want to make their money, they make good money. Whoever comes from wherever will make good money just being in Cayman. But there is people take advantage of people.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel, now according to the Constitution, the government is supposed to protect I and I from this particular act. And not only that, they're supposed to protect my environment as well.
But is it sometimes too that we feel that the government, just generally speaking, the government may be against the people, or B, when, say, a law is passed, we would argue in the past about the labor law, and now we would talk about the law for the disabilities law, that it only applies to government and not the wider community. Or C, the whole issue of rights of enforcement in terms of actions, it's not against each other. It's not against private companies. It's only in relation to your infringement by the government against you, or even the freedom of information and the like. Now, the data protection legislation addresses that to an extent. So is it then, as I listen to you, these things that are happening in our society, whether it's the abuses, the abilities of some people to hire some people and say, listen, we're not going to pay your pension, but we'll give you a little extra, and everybody's in collusion because for them that 2 cents in the pocket makes a difference between.
Makes a difference.
Yeah. So is that part of the problem, that we're not seeing the knock-on long-term consequences, which could potentially be more negative than positive?
Right, and that's actually what's going to happen, because let's take, for example, we have places like Superior Auto that has opened a school, invited our young men and women in, and making them mechanics and stuff. But at the end of the day, if you can pay two person to do the job of one, it's just a simple math.
Right.
So before we get into algebra, I'm like, you might want to take a look at these numbers and keep the Cayman Islands to like 70,000, where we can manage. But landfill, manage.
So let me ask then a couple of things. If you have a second and you're willing to engage me. Okay. In the same vein as you were sharing, not only are you able to hire more people, or even if you're hiring the same number, but for significantly less than you would say if you were hiring from within the populace, right? Yes, as a business, you see that as lower cost, maybe more profit. And maybe as a society, are you willing to ignore the potential negative consequences? But when we consider all of that, what about the whole issue of a country somehow not ensuring that the investment by the private sector, not just the public sector, in the scholarships and the like of its people, so that training that you refer to is the norm across the board, irrespective of the sector, whether you're providing tertiary education or you're providing training in other areas. I say that to share that there are some who have alleged that there's so much money being left on the table for training opportunities in education, because for whatever reason, as a populace, as a policy, we're not making sure that in exchange for those work permits or that business license or that concession, that there isn't a corresponding availability of scholarship funding, training, and development of the Caymanian populace.
Scholarships are good, but we are creating a business model, even a formula within the society that's saying this is what works. If you want to be profitable in doing your job, hire this particular body. If you want to pay more, you hire these. And so all us, has created, right now with simple numbers, the equation and the formula of success. And that equation and formula usually is cheap labor that make things work.
Right.
And you're leaving our people out who are getting educated.
Right.
You can always get 2 for 1.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Okay, and then with that then, and come back to the whole issue of the size of the population. Now, I joke and jest and say we're probably closer to 100,000 than we are to 60 or 70,000 that is being touted. Now, if we were to do, and as you did that, I would quickly cast my mind back to to the summer. Remember, traditionally, up until last summer, when the summer rolls around, we see a noticeable decrease in traffic. We see less people on our roads, in our supermarkets, on our beaches, in our public places. This summer, I don't think there was that much of a difference. So when the census is conducted in a year hence, what if that shows that the population is in fact, 100,000 plus, and we're well on that path, and not because in the last few weeks or months we got there, but because we were there maybe 2 or 3 years now. how are we going to react to that? We're seeing work permits projected to be close to 35,000, but are we counting the numbers that have moved from the work permit category to the other category that no longer require work permit? And perhaps as a sort of ancillary point, what about this issue that thinking of how the Premier, sort of shared recently, that there is no deliberate direct plan to grow the population to any sizable number? Is that because we don't have a managed, clear objective, or is it because, you just let it fall? And if so, should we not have a managed, clear objective as to what we want society to look like in terms of numbers and composition and the like?
Well, that's exactly where we should be. Because if you look at President Duterte in the Philippines, where he has closed an island because of people again, too much people, right? This is not new in other places, but I feel like our leadership is gonna wind up overcrowding the place, overpolluting the place, which is irreversible. If we try to sit down with intelligence and work this out and be like, look, 70,000 people, we welcome the people that are on permits. We love our residents, the people that are paying to be a part of us. But you can't keep educating our young people to come back for jobs, and then at the end of the day, you just hire 2 for 1.
Right. But as you shared, I come back to education, but first, when we look at the population, right, whether the population is increased to whatever number, if that increased population is comprised mainly of people with low skill, a low wage potential to earn higher wages, what you talk about, a service or a knowledge-based sector, what then would that do for the advancement of the population? Would we create a tier system where we have these individuals, and we see it in other places, we may call it a caste system or a class system, but if you have this divide in a society, are we willing to accept that people are segregated based along economic lines, ethnicity, religion, some of the divide that up until recent times we really didn't have the history of that sort of division?
We didn't have that.
Right.
And as we increase the numbers, we are all going to become vulnerable.
No, exactly.
I'm concerned.
Well, I think we all are, but are we willing to talk to it as you are publicly and engage our people? Now, when you're talking about education, if, as we've heard repeatedly, they're not only the individuals who have been sponsored either by government or private sector or personally through loans or other funding, gone off to university or higher education, come back and can't find employment. We heard, was it the chamber president before the last one, say that part of the chamber's priority for that year of presidency would have been the underemployment of those on a work permit. Now, what about the unemployment of Caymanians? Should that not have been a priority?
That sounds like me. I would paint the same house.
Yeah.
I would paint the same house, but I want to be valued just like how they value the people on permit.
Exactly. Well, something you said just then, right? And I appreciate you engaging us. You said that the person who comes here is probably under the premise that while they're here, this is a better option than the option that they may have otherwise, whether in their home country or other place. Right?
It usually is.
I think most of us would agree that you probably, I say it this way, you have a love interest, but her family doesn't like you. You're probably going to go around them because she loves you, you love her, she makes you feel welcome, and you're trying to make a good impression. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't go around places you don't feel welcome, right? Likewise, come into a country, if that country isn't in your best interest, why would you go there and be away from your family if it wasn't economically, if it wasn't safe and the like, right?
Right.
Okay, so with that in mind, if our country isn't providing a safe, nurturing place for those who come here, but equally for those who are from here and those who are here at the time, then what is the point in what we're doing? And will it mean, as you shared, mean that down the road we have this horrible divide that has threatened the safety, security, stability,
and the environment.
Yeah.
It's concerning, and Mr. Sterling, thank you for your time.
No, thank you. Okay? Thank you, man. And I hope to see you soon, even if I don't make it over to you, what I think is the most tranquil place, huh? All right.
Take care.
Blessings. Well, with that, Miss Susan reminds me, thank her so much. We're going to pause and take the final break, but when we come back, seems like the magic works when you dial 949-8037 or 949-6990. Give us a shout on those numbers. Stay tuned.
It's time for more winners and better prizes this Christmas. With Kirk Freeport's $40,000 sweepstakes, you could win one of 3 $5,000 cash prizes or a daily cash prize of $1,000 just for shopping at your favorite Kirk Freeport store. All purchases of $100 before noon on Christmas Eve qualify for all remaining prize draws. There's even a special Rolex watch prize draw on January 2nd and loads of other great prizes to be won. More winners, better prizes every Christmas with Kirk Freeport's $40,000 sweepstakes. Full details on kirkfreeport.com. Merry Christmas from everyone at Kirk Freeport.
Your sale, your choice at Vat Motors is back with the best Christmas sale on the rock. You can save, upgrade, or get cash back on new Fords and Toyotas, SUVs and trucks.
It is your sale, your choice at Vamp Motors. Save big on the new Ford Explorer, F-150, Edge, EcoSport, and Focus with up to $6,000 off select vehicles during December. Get huge savings on the Toyota RAV4, Rush, and Fortuner as well. Best of all, you decide if you'll take the full discount, get cash back, or upgrade your new ride. Vamp Motors. Drive home your Christmas wheels today.
Williams Production presents Linda Randall in concert at the Lions Center Tuesday, December 31st. All supporting the NCBO and the Lions Club of Tropical Gardens. Tickets are only $25 pre-sold, $35 at the gate. Purchase your tickets now at the Cayman Islands Conference Office, Christian Enlightenment Center, and Funky Tanks. Also appearing, The Neelands. All brought to you by the Office of the Premier, Cayman First, Health City Cayman Islands, Value Med Pharmacy, Ministry of Health, Environment, Culture, and Housing, Hides and Son, Tony's Toys, Burger King, Cayman Airways, the Physiotherapy Center, Braze 87.9 FM, Radio Cayman, and the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism, and Transport. It's Linda Randall in concert, Tuesday, December 31st at the Lions Center.
It's still God in the valley.
Are you an employer and would like another option to advertise your vacant position? Register with Work Jobs Cayman today and post your employment ad for Caymanians to see and apply. Contact Work on 945-9672 or visit www.worc.ky to get started today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for calling and sharing your thoughts with us. If you want to get on the air, as we invite you to be a part of today's Talk Today program, call us on 949-8037 or 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. And for today, for the present, our toll-free line is not working. We do apologize for that. But sometimes some things are the way they are because, well, that's just the way it is. Until we can resolve it, let's, find a way to work around it. 949-8037 or 949-6990. It's Wednesday, and we invite you to be a part of a discussion. Tomorrow, I have a chance to, talk about finance, and one of the chartered financial analysts, Mr. Emil Kalinowski. You'll hear him from time to time on our Monday Sense program. So, chance to chat with him. Looking forward to that. That's going to be part of our discussion tomorrow. But a few minutes remaining of today's program as you share your thoughts. The last caller, as usual, very informative, very insightful, has a perspective as he shared the whole notion that we grow our population. What are we looking at from the potential consequences and costs relative to the environmental impact? More people, more boots on the ground. How does that affect us? What about the amount of garbage and debris and all the stuff that we generate and that goes into the landfill? More and more numbers are there. 949-8037. As Miss Susan gets the phone lines all started up, we go to the phones. Good afternoon, welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
My friend, how are you today, man?
Okay.
All right, thanks for sharing with us, man. I appreciate you calling. Were you able to, before you go, were you able to get through an 800 number or you had to use the other number?
No, I never tried the 800 number.
Okay, again, to you and to others, we apologize for that. I figure by next year, we'll have it fixed. Not just kidding. Sorry about that, but thank you for calling us, though.
Yeah, well, concerning population and the garbage, that's going to become a serious problem because it looks like government don't know what to do with the garbage now.
What would be your suggestion as a possible solution to addressing that issue?
We need to start recycling.
Okay.
We need to have recycling garbage trucks picking up the garbage.
But then we get the stuff that we can recycle, and then, I mean, do we process it here or do we send it off island? I mean, what do we do?
Well, I hear that a lot of countries now aren't really interested in taking other people's garbage.
Yep. Yeah.
So we're going to have to recycle it and try to find some way of using it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is very true, huh? Because, I mean, if you're going to recycle it, but then when you collect it as a country, you're not able to do anything with it, it's going to be piled up somewhere, right?
Yeah, and instead of Cayman being called Grand Cayman, GC, we're going to soon be called Garbage Can.
That would be most unfortunate, yeah.
Because it seems as though the government doesn't have any plan for the garbage. And as long as we're putting more garbage into the garbage dump on a daily basis than what we're taking out or using for recycling, the same problem is going to occur again.
So, well, I'll infer that as someone shared, and I just looked at the messages that you were talking, that said this is why the priority perhaps needs to be, resolving the garbage as opposed to looking at other things, in brackets, the port, for example. So you're right. That's an important issue.
Yeah, and when it comes to population and traffic, well, we don't need any larger population to see that we have a traffic problem. But building more roads ain't going to help. People need to start carpooling, because if you got 4 or 5 people staying in a home, and each one of them have a car, and everybody get in their car in the morning to go to work. And the same thing occurs when they're coming back home from work, getting on the road again. That's what causes the traffic problem. If we have carpooling, 4 or 5 people staying in a home, and the car is big enough to take everybody into town in the morning, and everybody does the same thing, and even if you have to get a ride with your neighbor, that is what's going to solve the traffic problem, Dwayne.
Less cars on the road at peak times, yeah.
Yes, but everybody want a car. Everybody want to drive their car to work. Everybody want to drive their car home from work. But if you do carpooling, then you'll probably save yourself a half a tank of gas every week.
True.
So it's a winning situation anyway. Look at it.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. And I don't want to rush you, but I recognize the time to take the final call. Anything else you want to share with us?
No, thank you, Vin.
No, thank you, man. I'll talk to you hopefully. All right, the other caller recognized the time as well. And you guys are so respectful. I tell you, we have such an engaged, respectful public sometimes. So thank you. We appreciate it. I'm very mindful of time, but I believe sometimes we got to be careful that we don't become so stickler that we're not able to be a little bit more, amenable to certain things. But can't have it all, always. Thank you very much. Come back tomorrow for more Talk Today, right after the midday news and midday meditation. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay involved. Stay civilized, responsible, respectful. Can I ask of all of us, not just because we're probably going to be very busy on our roads, I don't want to alarm any of you. I don't want to offend any of you too much. But I saw something this morning that was, just potentially could have been a very horrifying sight. So as pedestrians, as cyclists, as motorcyclists, as drivers of cars, stop for a second, pay attention, slow down, be careful, be considerate. A pedestrian was crossing the road, and instead of using the crosswalk, the pedestrian decided, well, I'll walk between the cars. No, the traffic in one lane had stopped, and she, from what I could observe, got there and had the attention of the driver, and she walked between the front of that car and the one behind, and stepped into the other lane, both lanes traveling in the same direction. The driver in that car in that other lane was going perhaps faster than necessary, given that, well, one, maybe it was faster than the speed limit, but two, the lane next to him was stopped. And she stepped into it, and thank God, he didn't hit her. Now, whose fault? Well, it's not a question of trying to assign blame. Let's ask ourselves, as pedestrians, can we be a little smarter about how we're crossing the roads? As drivers, can we be a little bit smarter about how we're driving? Maybe be a little more attentive, maybe slow down. Really, let's ask, so that it's not us who is hit or us who hits someone else. If you can, take it on board, share it with your friends and family, your co-workers, and let's see if we can be a little bit more considerate, a little bit more sensible as we drive in our roads. And the crosswalks are there. Some are maybe in a bad place, but they're there. The lights at work, use them. If you see, traffic in one lane slowing down, pay attention. Or if it's not, still pay attention if you're behind the wheel of a vehicle. All right. If you think that was harsh, well, you should see me on some days. I can become even more so. But all said with love, and I trust that you'll take it on board. And as all of us, let's be safe on our roads every day. But especially now when we're recognizing that we're going to be rushing, sometimes unnecessarily so, or we're going to be very hectic, and we're going to be busy, and sometimes inadvertently we may be inattentive. All right. Tomorrow, come back for more Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. Until then, be blessed.
Shaken yet standing firm.
I was not built to break.
This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.